Hey everyone, it's Nixie, and today I wanted to make a quick video to share my last deck tech until we get the new set Dusk Till Dawn. This is the deck that I used at Battle Hardened LA, and it performed very well. I ended up at 6 and 2 and at 15th place out of around 150 players that showed up. So very well. I was able to play on a featured match against an experienced Uzuri player, so that was awesome, and I think it's highly worth the watch. I'll post a link to the stream in the description, so make sure to check it out. So let's quickly go over how the tourney went and then go into what I changed from my previous deck tech and why. Alright, so for my first match, I go and sit at the table feeling pretty good about my deck. I like the changes I made, and I also like how it performed before, so yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. Then across from me sits Charles Dunn on Oldham. If you don't know who Charles is, well, he's a very highly rated player and a really good Oldham player at that too. And so all I can say is that the game was really tough for me. The game wasn't a blowout or anything, but he had control of the game for a very long time, and there were only very small instances where I felt I was in control, but that didn't last long. The game was getting close to time, so we started to speed up a bit, but at the end, I just got fatigued out. I ran out all my threats, and I only had like an E-pot, heart, and there's some few cards left, so I just said good game. I'm not sure what I would have changed. Maybe block less, play less conservatively because running out of threats is not great. And I took out my last ditch efforts. But yeah, I think it's a tough matchup for sure. So I start with the 0-1 record. Not happy, but it is what it is, right? My second match was against an Azalea player. This one, unlike my previous match, ended super quick. I think probably in 15 minutes because I was able to block out and dominated attack with an armor. Then I was able to swing back with a glistening that they tried to block out, but I was able to go over it. Then from there on, I was able to maintain counters and pretty much control the game, and I was able to come out with the win. The third match was the feature match against the aggro Uzuri player. My game plan to this was to try preserve life and fatigue the opponent. The game got really close and scary at the end, but on his last turn, I knew he had a surgical extraction that he wanted to Uzuri in because I was watching what he was pitching. So with that knowledge, I was able to block with one card and Tunic and keep two cards in my hand. And then the next turn, I was able to play a red overpower that had Arsenal for a long time and swing for lethal. Definitely a close game and not comfortable position I was in for a long time, but yeah, I was able to win out with that red overpower. And I really recommend you guys go and watch it, not just for the gameplay, but also because I love Uber's reaction at the end. Fourth game was against the Five. This one was similar to Azalea in that I was able to get counters early, and then they tried to pivot and block out with one defense reaction that they had. But I was still able to go over, and then I was able to control the rest of the game because they felt like they had to keep on trying to overblock a lot. But yeah, they gave up all their armor and they weren't able to block properly with their two blocks. So I was able to run away with the game from there. Fifth game was against an Icelander. Surprisingly, this one wasn't a Bullander like normal, but more an arcane based version with also Sinks, Fates, and Oasis. So they were playing pretty defensive, and I was a bit surprised, but I was able to play through their Channel Lake Frigids because of the 22 blues I run, and I also was able to ignore the arcane damage that they played out because I wanted to preserve my hand to pressure to try to get those counters. At the end, I think I had a pretty healthy lead, around like 25 health when I won the game. So here I was now 4 and 1. Sixth game was against Majin Bei on Kano. So turn one, we play on E-bot, and then I pass, and then he decides to Kano and kind of whiffs, and I think he was able to pressure with maybe one arcane damage. So I'm feeling pretty good. Then on his turn, he plays out an E-Pot and Kanos. I think I see him pitch a Wildfire when he Kanos. So when I see that, I'm like, oh no, he already has another Wildfire and he just arsenaled it. So now I'm not feeling great because I didn't see my Oasis yet in my first two hands. Um, and then on my turn, I think I swing, it doesn't block. I pop bolters because I didn't have a natural go again, and then swing again. And here he decides to Kano, and then he sees a Wildfire, and then thinks for a bit, and then decides to play it with the Crucible. And I don't have an Oasis with me, so I can only AB1. Um, and then once he sees that, he goes off and KOs a few more things here and there, does some ragmuffin stuff, and then plays Striders, and then the Wildfire and Arsenal, and then pretty much I go down all the way to 2 health. And next turn, when he draws up, he just KOs red snapback, and pretty much I die. Yeah, but that's how it goes. I looked into my deck to see where my Oasis was because I have 3, and they were all on my bottom half of the deck, so I wouldn't have seen it. But, you know, that's how it goes sometimes. I think the game lasted like just 5, 7 minutes. It was really quick because they only lasted like 2, 3 turns. Um, but, at least we got to relax and talk for a while after that. Kind of bummed at 4-2, but it is what it is, and just wanted to play out the rest of the game to see how it goes. Seventh game was against an Oldham who topped 8 at the RTN I went to. But I didn't get to play him there, but I know he's a great player. The game was pretty close because he was able to land some red pummels on me, but he used up all 3 of them very quickly. So that made things easier for me to play around at the end. And I was able to get him close to fatiguing, and he had to kind of block a little bit risky. And because of that, I was able to pressure for the win by swinging for lethal with a reaction. So I was able to get the W there. And last match was against another Kano player, right? Kind of crazy. There was 10 Kanos at this whole thing, and I think there was only 5 Dories. Kanos just came out in force at Battle Hardened LA. But yeah, the last one was against another Kano, but this time I was able to get Oasis Churn 0. So I was able to Arsenal that immediately, which made me feel pretty comfortable. Also then helped that for my opponent, they Kanoed a few times and they didn't see really good cards. They weren't able to pressure that much. And I think I was able to see some really good cards. So by turn 3, I was pressuring for lethal. And they had to pretty much answer by trying to also go for lethal with one Wildfire that they had. But because of the Oasis I had, I could stuff it and was able to get the win. So yeah, I was able to pretty much, end the tournament 6-2. Felt really good. Bummed about my losses that I had, but it is what it is. So let's go over my deck. And this time I'm just going to go over the cards that was changed from my previous deck list because 90% is the same. So I'm going to just show you what I took out and what I added in and why. Alright, so let's go into the 8 cards that were changed, which were the cards on top, and 8 cards that were added, which is the ones on the bottom. So the main reason for my deck change is because of this yellow overpower. So yellow overpower reads +3 damage, and if they block from hand, you get +2, so +5 damage. And this is a nice breakpoint because the D reacts that are highly played of Sinks, Fates, Flickflacks, Oasis, Reinforce the Line, they all pretty much block 4. So being able to come in for +5 gets over that and punishes people that perfect block and then play one of those D reacts. So I was able to steal some games because I was able to play this yellow overpower. So thank you to Avarice and also Josh Lau for bringing back this yellow overpower because I liked it a lot. But to make this work, I had to cut a lot of these red cards on top. So let's go over the cards that were cut. So first one, Stroke of Foresight, 1 for 3. One of the least impactful cards that we have for the reaction. Still good, it's a block 3, but I will take Alpha Blood for Puncture instead of this. So this was an easy cut. And then I had to cut 2 red Alpha Bloods because I didn't want to have too many reactions. And so I pretty much replaced this yellow overpower for the Alpha Blood. And normally, you know, it was between this and Puncture, and I usually love Alpha Blood, but Puncture I found more use most of the time now because of the +1 effect, and that also is a breakpoint a lot of times when people just overblock for 3 with equipment. So because of that, I decided to cut out 2 of the Alpha Bloods um, and just kept 3 Punctures. But I didn't cut out all of them, so I still run 1 Alpha Blood. So if I use it or block with it, the opponent has to, still expect the second or third Alpha Blood in my deck. But it's not there. They're just playing around it. So that's why that was cut. And then I also cut 1 route. So coming down from 2 routes to 1. It's just an expensive card. I like it a lot, but to be played with overpower is kind of hard. But, you know, I still have 1 in my deck, so it's not the worst. I just can't freely block with it like I could before. To make things hit, I needed another card, which is now what I used with Ironsong Determination for the Dominate effect. Being able to have Dominate turn 0 is very nice because a lot of the aggros, if you lose the dice roll, will have you go first. And playing an Ironsong Determination with the Warrior's Valor will allow you to get a counter. Or, even with the Glistening, as you see on the feature match, will force your opponents to block with an equipment. And getting an equipment turn 0 is very big. So, yeah, Ironsong Determination is very nice. Also, it's a 0 cost and also a yellow pitch, which also helps, fuel for your overpowers, so it's very nice there. Let's see, speaking of pitch, I had to downgrade my hit and runs from red to yellow. Um, you know, I used to love the red ones, but playing with yellow wasn't too bad. The +3 from, if you already swing, your next attack is +3 versus, +2. 1 attack difference is not that big of a deal because let's say you attack and you play a hit and run yellow, you swing now for 5 instead of 6, but 5 still requires a D react and a card or 2 cards. Same with the red, so you know it's like the same, but now it's just one more pitch, which could be useful for playing your overpowers. And then we have Cut with Pursuit of Knowledge, another pet card that I used to like. I still like, but I had to make room for an E-Pot because you really want to get an E-Pot on the field as soon as possible to be able to play your overpower that you'll need eventually. So yeah, kind of sad. It was a pummel target with my pursuit. Also nice effect with the plus int, but um, energy pot has been working very well for me. And also being able to play energy pot turn 0 is very big. And then for equipment, I exchanged my Valiant Dynamos and brought in Vambrace of Determination because I knew there were going to be a lot of Otoms. And I know there's going to be Dromai too, but I'd rather fight a Dromai with Bolters than fight an Odhem with Brave Force Bracers and not have Vambrace. Because the Vambrace effect is so nice against the Crown. So that's why I brought this in. I still have room for one more. I brought in Oasis Respite. So going from 2 Oasis 3. I find Oasis is a very nice card. Good against all the decks pretty much. Even Assassin, they can't shred it, and that's going to be a long game, so it's nice there. And also, good against Kanos. There was actually 10 Kanos. I never got to see against when I played Majin, but having 3 is so much better than 2 because in that game, for me, I'm trying to win by turn 3, and they're also trying to find Wildfire by that time, so higher chance to get the Oasis is always better. So, yeah, this is my deck. Please try it out. Talishar, let me know what you think. I know it's going to change a lot once Dusk Till Dawn comes out, so things will change, but, you know, give it a shot. Let me know what you think. I'll leave a link to Fabrary in the description. And with that, yeah, that's the end of my deck tech, and catch you guys next time. Bye.